Hello, hello. Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I have such a great episode for you guys today. I am actually we're replaying a presentation that my friend James, he came into our Growth Factor Framework group. He did a guest coaching spot, and it was just incredible. Our members were so inspired and so motivated. I think one of them after even wrote, "Did anyone else feel like going and running on a treadmill after that call with James?" And he really just brings a whole different perspective to business and highlights just how important it is to take care of yourself because you are your business's greatest asset. And I thought this was just such an important message that really needed to be shared with everyone out there, every single entrepreneur. So I asked him if we could use it as a podcast episode. He said yes. So you guys are in luck. So I'm going to go ahead and you'll get a little behind the scenes. You'll get to see kind of what the calls are, some of our guest coaches that come inside of Growth Factor. And I hope that you enjoy it as much as our Growth Factor members did. Mr. James Williams, this is the husband of my dear friend, Emily. And James is a certified high performance coach. He's trained with Brendan Bouchard. And when you talk about high performance, what does that mean? In order to operate our business, is something that I talk about a lot. And actually we were just talking about it this weekend, is that pretty much everything after 100,000 is mindset. And when you get to that point and you realize that the more that you've grown as a human being, the more personal development that you've done, the more you see your business grow and expand, the more capacity you have to solve problems. When you are operating at a higher level, when someone quits, you don't freak out. You respond, you don't react, right? And so James's whole focus is teaching people how to operate in their highest level of performance. How can they operate? What kind of habits do they need to create? How can they be more self-aware? And James, I know I'll let you introduce yourself too, but you have a little presentation, then you're going to do some Q&A, right?
I do. I have a little presentation for you all.
Wonderful. Well, why don't you, so these ladies are all incredible spa owners, very successful. They've got teams, but they're dealing with the normal day-to-day stuff of leadership, right? And being women in a leadership role, which comes with its own kind of baggage. But yeah, I would love for you to just kind of give a little background on you and what you do, and then jump in. I'll make sure that the share screen thing is on. Do you have slides, or are you just talking? Are you just talking, or do you have slides? Do you need to?
I have slides. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's on share screen.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction. It was really wonderful watching the end of your call because it's really relevant, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But to give you some background, as Daniela says, I work with my wife. And so I've been working with amazing, successful, driven, hardworking women like yourselves for like the last 7 years. And it's not just the women, but it is the same challenge that comes up. And that is extrinsic focus. That, I'm not going to put myself first because I have to serve everything else outside of me first. And it's the biggest challenge in my life. I feel like I'm in sales. I have to sell the idea that the opposite is what you need. And so this is the training I decided to put you all through today is the core basics of what high performance is, because that word doesn't work for everyone. So I want you to understand what it is, why it's not scary, why not only is it very implementable for all of you, but you're going to realize you get to do all the things that you think you don't get to do. And why and how that's going to serve not only your business, but your life and your relationships and your longevity of all of those things. And why I loved listening to the end of your call is because you're all talking about SOPs and processes and all the metrics in your business to make sure your business is efficient and effective and money going out is creating more money coming in. There's another business that you run that impacts all of that. And that's the business of you. Because every decision you make has a level of quality behind it. And the quality of that effort impacts your decisions on who to hire, when to raise your prices and how you feel about it, right? When to implement any new strategies. It's coming from you. You're making that decision. If that decision is coming from a depleted, fear-based person, then how do you know it's the right decision? Or maybe you're not even making a decision because there are 5 options and you can't prove which one of those options is going to be, going to work guaranteed. So you procrastinate, and time is money. So this call is about how to run this business in exactly the same way you run your business, so that the quality of your effort you can trust to the point where you will be doing more work in less time. You'll be making better decisions, and you will have more time at home to be present with your loved ones, right? To feel present with yourself. And that big goal of the lifestyle and the business that you want in the future, that's going to get bigger because you're going to have the guts to take on more. And that won't be harder. That'll be easier because you'll have more bandwidth. And bandwidth is created within you via trust and self-care and restorative behavior. Okay. And Daniela said earlier, this idea of being responsive rather than reactive, which is huge. Right? It's what I call your responsibility, right? It's your ability to respond in alignment with the best version of you. So without further ado, I'm going to share some slides, which will just help me describe to you what high performance is. And this presentation is called The 6 Secrets of the World's Highest Performers, or The 6 Secrets of the World's Most Successful. So if you want to know what the most successful spa owners are doing, like Daniela, this is what they do.
Well, I'm not a spa owner, but
you're doing a lot of this, right? This is the secret. And this is every single, I don't even know you. And I know that you're all capable of doing this, but this is the only thing that's going to get in the way, because you'll come up with a million reasons why you can't. And that's why at the end of this, there's Q&A, and I'll answer any questions and tell you why you can. Okay. So let's begin. So can everyone see the screen? The 6 Secrets of the World's Most Successful. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to run you through, I'm going to run you through the research a little bit as well, because I want you to know this isn't just my opinion. What Brendan Bouchard did with his High Performance Academy is he did something that no other personal development on high performance research ever did. He did a 4-year research study with over 175 countries to say, are my theories on what makes a high performer true, or is it just theory? And it proved, I was in the room the day that he got the results back, and he came in like a little schoolboy, all excited. He's like, I was right. And there was a few little tweaks. So what you're going to hear is fact, and it's researched, okay? It's not theory. That's really important, because when it comes to personal development, there are, some subjective theories, okay? This is fact. So first off, what does high performance mean? Well, high performance means excelling and succeeding above the standard norms consistently over long term. So it doesn't mean I'm this crazy energizer bunny who's got to be like a super athlete all the time. It means consistency. It means if you can imagine your best day where you were happy, you were vibrant, you're making great decisions, you were proud of your productivity that day, you finished the day, you got everything done you wanted to get done, and you're prepared for the next day. Being that 80, 90% of the time, that's high performance. Okay. This is just the research I wanted to put in there, right? So proof of what I just said. Academic surveys performed, it's 190 countries, 300 structured one-on-one interviews with the top 5% of leaders from 11 different countries, proving that what I'm going to be telling you is fact. Okay. Well, that's a lot of work to put in. Cost him a lot of money. He didn't have to do that. But what it means, it means that I can charge what I charge because it works. And B, it means that I can say with complete confidence that if you do take note of what I'm going to be talking about today, everything in your life, personally and professionally, will change. And Danielle will be really happy because she'll have even more successful clients that are going to be writing her even more incredible testimonials because she knows what she's doing. But you've got to implement, like she's not doing your work. And that means that you're in charge of this business, which is what we're talking about today. So what does high performance feel like? Well, high performance is the feeling of full engagement, which means present, joy. And you think about that word joy. Joy is an emotion you feel in the present moment. It's not about the future or the past. It's here and now. Confidence that comes from consistently living from and into your full potential. So first, you've got to know what it feels like to be in your full potential. Most people aren't paying attention to themselves. So they don't even know what, if I said, who are you at your best? They wouldn't even know because they're so focused outside of themselves. They don't even know they're not running at the full steam. Now, if you were running your business like that, you wouldn't even be able to afford to work with someone like Danielle, let alone go to the next level. The common traits of the high-performing achiever. First one, open and observant to the present moment. Goes back to what I just said, right? You're not taking action in any other moment than the present. You can't work tomorrow and you can't work yesterday. You can only work in the moment. So open and observant to the present moment means that you are effective and efficient in that moment and not distracted by things that don't matter right here and right now. Okay, like, well, what if I do that and that happens? And what if I do that, that happens? And all the spiraling thoughts that come with it. Self-reliant. As I just said, you can learn from the best, but you're the one doing it, right? Which means developing trust with yourself is very important. You are all leaders, but a leader can only lead someone as far as they can lead themselves, which means you've got to be fully reliant and trusting that you have the ability to make the decisions that there are no guarantees on, right? Future oriented. Notice how I say future oriented, not in the future, right? Presently focused, but oriented towards the future. So when every decision I make is leading me to the next step, not looking back at what went wrong so I don't take a step forward, looking forward. Yeah. Challenge seekers, right? Nothing ever grows unless we challenge the next level. Comfort is where businesses go to die. And it's where growth personally goes to die, right? So now challenge can be of any size, but if you're not challenging to that next level, you're not growing. Nothing's growing. Connection lover. You're not on this alone. And to be honest with you, you will never, ever achieve your goals on your own. It's the important part of any personal growth or business growth is understanding the value of connection, not only from a business perspective, but as a human being, we're all connected and that we need others to be happy. Because you wouldn't, if you didn't connect with other people, you wouldn't have businesses because you have service-based businesses, right? And I'm sure that you understand the value of customer service and connecting with human beings. And they're coming back to you, not just because of the quality of what you do, but because they like you, right? And your team stays with you because you treat them well. So understanding the value of connection is really important. Creatively driven and expressive. Some people may think, oh, I'm not that creative. I'm more academic. Truth is, all human beings are creative, right? That's what separates us from the animals. We have the ability to imagine something that doesn't exist and make it exist, as with all of your businesses and things you've created in your life, okay? And expressing that creativity, personally and professionally, is like, using muscles. If you don't use them, you lose them, right? If you don't use your ability to be creative and express yourself, then you're limiting the growth and the potential of this thing up here. Meaning makers. High performers don't just take information as standard and accept it. They look at it and they're curious. And they go, well, what does that mean? And why does that mean that? The question why is the most useful question. It's why kids grow and learn so quickly, because they're always asking why. And I know it probably drives a lot of the mothers crazy, but I was that kid. But why? They're getting information, right? So high performers are like that. They want to understand things rather than take for granted that the way it's always been done is the way to do it now, right? So how do we achieve all of that? Well, the high performance is heightened and sustained levels of these core pillars of high performance, which we're going to be going through. So clarity, which is, clear about who I am at my best, clear about where I'm going and what the next step is. Energy, obviously, from a mental and physical perspective, if I'm going to be my best, I need to understand energy, how to generate it, how to maintain it, and how to not lose it. So I related some of the things you were talking about earlier to your business. And if you think about cash flow in your business, it's a bit like that with energy. If you're bleeding cash somewhere in your business, you've got to plug that hole, because it means that you're putting way too much effort in and not getting what you should be getting out. It's like that in our bodies, right? We're wasting mental energy on things that don't matter or we can't fix. And we're wasting physical energy by sitting down too long, not sleeping well, not exercising, not recovering, and millions of other things. So energy is an important subject to master and understand. Courage. To have the courage to, and I was listening to that previous conversation, to have the courage to raise your prices again, to have the courage to, step away from certain roles so you can have more time, to have the courage to trust your staff to take on those roles and do a good job without you having to micromanage them. To have the courage to do this work, which might mean taking more time for yourself and less time for the people you care about. Dare I say, putting yourself first is the most caring thing you could do. And I'll explain why a bit later on. Productivity kind of explains itself. If you're going to be effective in anything you do, the word productivity means to produce. It doesn't mean busy, right? Successful people aren't people that necessarily work long hours. They're people that work really well in the hours they're working. They work hard in those hours and they want to be effective and efficient in those hours to get jobs done. That doesn't always mean long hours. And I think that's a big misconception. We need to have hustle in the back pocket, sure. But if our business and our personal development is at an efficient point, we get to be in maintenance mode, which means we're super productive. Because what we're doing is what needs to be done in the best possible way, and it's getting done efficiently. And then finally, influence, which isn't talked about as much as it should be. You are leaders. Some of you are probably parents, your wives, your friends. Every single person that you speak to, that sees you, you are influencing, which is a huge responsibility. So you have to understand that if you, especially as a leader, how you're showing up and how you're treating yourself, your staff are watching, your kids are watching, and they're going to copy. And if you want power with your staff, you better not be telling them something to do that you're not doing, right? Or showing up in a way that you don't want them to show up in. So influence is a really important thing. And the positive side of this is if you understand the true essence of influence, people will want to work for you. Clients will want to come and pay you. Your kids will want to listen to you. Your husband will want to listen to you. And people will want to pay attention because positive influence is infectious. So how do we do it? How do we master those core pillars? Well, we master it through productivity, as I've described, persuasion, as I've just talked about, your psychology, so the business of you up here, physiology, the business of you around your entire body, your presence, so your ability to be effective and efficient in terms of time, and your purpose, understanding why you were put on this earth, what tasks you should and what tasks you shouldn't be doing, and what is the thing in life that is really lighting you up that you're going to look back at the end of your life and say, I did what I was meant to do, and I'm proud. And regardless of what I earn, I'm so proud. I feel like I lived up to what I was meant to on this earth. That's how you master it. So common sense. A lot of it is common sense, but common sense isn't always common practice. As you're going to hear from a lot of this stuff here, you're like, I know that, James, but my question would be, okay, but are you doing it regularly? Is this part of your life? And if not, then let's have a discussion. What's really important here is I don't want anyone to feel wrong or bad for not doing things. I want you to instead look at anything, anywhere you're not showing up as an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity. It's wonderful. Like when you find something wrong in your business, that's great. It's new information. I love finding problems because they are opportunities for growth. If we ignored all the stuff that wasn't going well, we're blind and we'll never grow. As within our businesses, it has to be the same within ourselves. There's something that I call unconscious incompetency, not knowing what you don't know and where you're not showing up. And then there's also unconscious competency, which is a big one. I'm not actually paying attention to where I'm great and what I'm doing that helps me because my focus is so outside, I don't really want to think about myself. We want to solve those two issues. We want to have full awareness of what you're incompetent in and what you're competent in. That's metrics in the business of you that we can work with, right? We can leverage what you're great at and we can make decisions around where you're not showing up, whether it's delegate it or improve. Okay. So here are the 6 that, you're excited. The 6 secrets of the world's highest performers. So secret number 1 is master your mind. This is the head office of the business. We need to know what's going on, why it's happening, what the common thoughts are that are taking you down. We talked about energy earlier, okay? What are the common things up here that are making you feel down, right? And what are you doing to manage your stress? How are you managing this so that this has got the ability to make really great decisions in your life, right? So ask yourself some of these questions. And this is a great quote by James Allen. Mind is the master power that molds and makes. Like everything that this does impacts your bottom line, impacts your relationships, everything. Everything that comes out of your mouth and from this brain impacts your life. So ask yourself this question: am I living in integrity with who I am and what I believe? The truth about personal development is it's actually less about habits and more about integrity. That's why it's more about that's why common sense isn't always common practice, because you know what you should be doing. But if you were showing up with integrity to yourself, you'd be doing it. You wouldn't be saying, I'm too tired today, or I forgot. You would be making a decision to make sure that it's common practice to show up for yourself each day, right? That's integrity. So one way to do this, to remind yourself of this before it's habitual, is just think very simply, what are 3 words that describe who I am at my best, right? So 3 words that define who I really am and words that you can live by consistently. So it might be things like vibrant, present, bold. So think about 3 words. Best way to do this is think about a time when you were really crushing it. You felt like that badass woman that was just making decisions, doing the best thing for everyone in her life. What 3 words describe her, right? And you write those 3 words down. You put them by your bedside and you look at them first thing in the morning and you say, I'm going to show up like her today. Because when she shows up, she is living in integrity with who she is at her best. Okay, very simple. And finally, second secret, master your body, right? Your body is the only place you have to live in. So you gotta look after it. If you don't look after your body, who's going to run the business? Who's going to look after the people in your life? It's crazy to think that people aren't looking after the thing that is having an effect on their business or their life, everything you're putting an effort into, and you're spending lots of money investing in yourself and your business to make everything come true. You put all this effort in, and all that effort's coming from this. So are you paying attention to the quality of the effort that's coming from this? It'll make your life so much easier. Like it's so much easier to put a lot of effort in without it feeling hard when this is functioning really well. It's easy, right? It doesn't have to be hard. It's amazing. People assume it has to feel hard to work or hard to make decisions or hard to up for prices. It's not, it's just a decision. It's perception. But perception becomes hard when we are mentally drained and we overthink. Okay. That's energy. That's a lack of energy. That's physiology. Okay. So are you prioritizing your sleep and your recovery? I actually just did a training for my community day before yesterday on sleep, right? Because it's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. It's like, oh, that's just a time where I'm not working, therefore it's not valuable. Sleep is where the magic happens, right? Sleep is where your body prepares for being excellent the next day. If you don't master your sleep, you will never be able to be your best. And I actually pulled up a stat here for you that's kind of shocking. Your business will be affected by the quality of your sleep. So here's a stat run by a study from Rand Europe. Okay, they did a study on all the major industry companies in the countries in the world, and the US it blew my mind when I read the US stat. The cost of sleep deprivation in the US. In the US alone, the estimated cost of sleep deprivation in GDP terms is $411 billion a year. Do you want your business to be part of that? $411 billion a year because of sleep deprivation, because of people not being able to perform at their best consistently, because of people getting sick, because of people being stressed and anxious, right? Not getting on with their co-workers, being bad leaders, being bad workers. It's not a stat I would want in my business. And all you got to do is pay attention to it. Like, it's a strategy, just like in your business, it's a strategy. You have a sleep strategy, you pay as much, you give it as much respect as you do everything else in your life, and it will pay off dividends really well. Are you fully hydrated and fueling your body? Again, the fuel for this business is food and water, right? Very simple. But it's amazing how many people aren't drinking enough water. I mean, you guys as spa owners, I imagine, know the importance of hydration and the effects on the skin. But I'd be interested to know, are you drinking, what sort of water are you drinking? Is it filtered? In which case, does it have all the minerals in it that it needs? Most water filters get rid of everything, including minerals, right? And are you fueling your body with food that is actually fueling you to have that long day at work so that you can function at your best? So that whatever happens, you have the energy backup to handle it. And are you generating the energy you need to jump up in the air like these two consistently? Are you generating the energy you need to show up at your best? Do you have a strategy for your own energy? To say, today is going to be an extra busy day, so I need twice as much energy as I had yesterday, and here's my strategy. Do you have that? That'd be useful, right? Same as if you've got a big launch coming in your business, you prepare for that launch, right? You know that it's going to be more intense, so you might hire other people, or you might ask people to work more hours, whatever. You prepare for it. Do you prepare your body the same way that you would prepare your business for a more intense period? Secret number 3, master your focus. This was a big one for me as someone whose mind naturally wants to go in 10 million directions. So mastering that was probably the most important thing for me. And that's all about presence, because focus means that I have the ability to not worry about tomorrow, or even 5 minutes from now, or yesterday, or 5 minutes ago. So it means I'm clear about the priority right now. So each morning, do you understand what the mission is? Do you have your micro strategy for the day? This is what's happening. Even if it's not a big day, this is what's happening, not only around work. The kids have got to be dropped off to school at that time, right? I know that Daniela is like the queen of strategy. I hear a lot of things about, the parenthood and the business. She's like the Monica Geller. If anyone watched Friends with the tabs everywhere, I can just see it in my mind. But what it does is you're taking things out of your mind and you're putting it down so that this doesn't have to think about it anymore. It creates more energy space in your head for being able to run a business, for being able to do all those other things that you can't predict in life. Are you looking forward to today? That's an interesting question for focus, right? Well, if you're thinking about the benefit of what is to be achieved, your body produces all these lovely chemical messengers, all these dopamine, serotonins, oxytocins, and then you're excited by it. That's the joy part we talked about earlier. When you're feeling what the benefit's going to be for the day, your level of effort and energy is scaled. That's one way to produce energy, is have a positive outlook of the benefit of your efforts. It's called subjective insertion. It's actually, there was a great podcast someone did, and it was all about what is the biological process of growth mindset. And it's when you understand the benefit of any process, you create a chemical messenger to your brain, like a drug. And if you do that regularly, you start to look forward to the process. It's why, gym bunnies, or people that go to the gym regularly, they get addicted to the gym because they're so focused on what the outcome's going to be. They become addicted. You can do that with anything. You can do that with your work day, right? What must I accomplish today to progress my life? You should ask yourself that every day. Not just about work, about all these things, your mind, your body, your relationships, that person at work that's having a hard time, whatever it is. What can you do today to progress your life? Secret number 4 is master your influence. Attitude is greatly shaped by influence and association. So it goes back to that power of connection and leadership. If your team they're just not doing what you want them to do, or your family just doesn't get something about what you're doing, well, you can take responsibility for that. You can say, well, am I developing influence, or am I dictating terms? Because it's a big difference, right? Leaders aren't dictators. Leaders are people that inspire. They are role models. They just role model the way. It's very easy to lead. You don't even have to tell people what to do if you're a real influencer. You just show up as an example of how, and you display how that makes you feel and what you're doing to progress, and you inspire action. That's a real influencer. Are you demonstrating empathy and bold enthusiasm when you seek to influence others? Right? Or are you just snapping and saying it should be like that? Why does some leaders become dictators that snap and get angry? Energy. Comes all back down to energy, right? Bandwidth. If I haven't got the bandwidth, if I'm not looking after myself, I'm not going to have energy to deal with other people's problems, right? And you're in a business, which means that you are hiring people and dealing with people, and people are hard work sometimes, right? So if I can say, do you know what? I'm not going to worry about, I can't control their lives and what they do, but I can control my life and how I show up and how much bandwidth I have. And wouldn't it be nice if no matter, if everything in your life was exactly as it is now, yet you weren't stressed about the things you were stressed about? Wouldn't that be nice? And if that was the case, how would that change how you showed up and what decisions you make? So one thing it would change is how influential you'd be. Are you influencing yourself to progress with love and encouragement? Very simple one. The world is looking for like guarantees, right? Well, I don't take action there because I just don't know if it's going to work. You will never, ever have a guarantee for anything, right? You're not in control. You're not in control of anything, but there's one thing that you control in life, just one thing. And that is how you respond. That is it. Everything else is influence. It's just influence. You can't control anything. Even with the best business strategy in the world, it's not guaranteed. But how you bounce back from failure and learn from failure, how you respond to challenge, that is within your control. Secret number 5, we're nearly there, is master your presence, right? Energy is gained by being efficient. You know, it's like when you have your computer open and you have your browser open, you've got 25 tabs and there's 10 bits of software open, your desktop's full of documents, and then your computer starts glitching and shaking and running really slowly and you get really frustrated with it. It's because it's trying to do 10,000 things at the same time. And you actually only want to use that one tab. So you close everything down and suddenly it starts working properly. Well, it's kind of like that with this business. If you can learn to just be present with each task or each thought You don't need a lot of energy for that. And you do that one thing at a time. So on average, how present are you being with yourself and your needs? I'd love actually, out of 10 in the chat box, between 1 and 10, answer this question. On average, how present are you being with yourself and your needs? 1, not at all. 10, 100% of the time. Congrats on the 7s. But and don't, the 3s, the 2s, don't feel bad because you're the majority. I'll be honest with you, right? And here's a great way this is how I look at this. You're a 3, right? And you're doing what you're doing. Imagine what you'd be able to do if you were a 7. And the 7s, you're doing what you're doing. Imagine what you'd be able to do if you were a 10. This is how I look at problems. I don't look at them and feel bad or less than if my score's low. I think, oh, wow, I've got 7 other levels to go to. That's exciting. That's awesome. You've already done so well and you've got 7 other levels. Everyone else in this group should be scared of you because you're in the same group as them. And you've got 7 other levels, okay? The present moment is the only moment available to us. From it, our options are endless. It's so true, right? Nothing else exists but here and now. Nothing else exists. If any of you struggle meditating or haven't meditated, like that's meditation 101. If you can just understand what's in the moment, the temperature of the air, how my bum feels on the seat, what noises I hear, that's the present moment. And that's all that actually exists. Nothing else exists, right? This one, for parents, tends to hit hard, right? How present am I? How present and engaged am I with my loved ones and those I serve? So for those of you who here, yes or no, puts their kids first over themselves? You're selfish. Do you know why? You're selfish. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're putting your kids first, your kids aren't getting you 100%. Do they deserve you 100%? Yeah? Because at the moment, they might be only getting you at 60%, which means that the quality of your efforts as a parent are 60%. You put yourself first and get yourself up first to what you need, your ability to be there for your kids is higher, as it is for your clients, your team, everyone. I like, you don't know my wife. Danielle, you do. Mm-hmm. I have to be a high performer to be married to that woman. So I have to put myself first. Otherwise, I wouldn't be capable of being Emily Williams' husband. So I have to put myself first. And trust me, that is hard for me. I label myself a recovering giver because it is very natural for me to be, to put myself last. That's my natural state. So I have it reminded every day. I do what I need to do first to get my cup full so that I can be a great husband, so that I can be a great team member. And then, do you know what? I know what you're saying, but I don't have time. You gain the time. This is what productivity is. When you put yourself first and you fill your cup and the quality of your efforts are higher, it takes you less time to do more. And not only that, Emily, as your kids might, watches me and how I treat myself and what that does. And then she reflects and treats herself that way too, because she didn't always look after herself. Your kids will do the same. They're looking at you and going, oh, Mummy runs herself ragged. Okay, that's how I will live too. I'm going to do that. It's hard. I know that it hits hard but we got to figure out a way of finding the time for you to understand your importance and putting yourself first. Okay. Secret number 6, master your mission. Are we good with time, Daniela?
We have, I don't know, Giselle knows the time. Giselle's the time person. 10 minutes?
10 minutes. Okay. This will be quick and I'll try and get some questions in. So master your mission speaks for itself. Okay. So success.
That'll wake everybody.
Getting juicy. Success demands singleness of purpose. Don't ever forget that as business owners, as you're getting wrapped up in your strategies and your life getting wrapped up in life, don't forget the singleness of purpose, why you're doing what you're doing, right? When you speak to people, do they say, oh yeah, she's all about her mission. She talks about it. She's so passionate about it. Do they say that about you? Think about how you can stay on purpose. When you figured out what that is for you and you're daily thinking about, how do I today stay on my purpose to fill in the blank? I'll read some principles for you, and then I can print this off for you all, and I'll give you the PDF so that they can have this to take away, okay? Intentions mean nothing without the actions to back them up. That's integrity. Make decisions and take actions from where you want to be, not from where you are now. That takes courage. How you run the business of you will be reflected in everything else you do as a parent and as a business owner, right? That's why this needs to come before everything. This is a long one. Intentional quality output, which I spoke about earlier, means understanding and being intentional about generating the clarity, the energy, the courage, the productivity, and the influence you need by putting your mental and physical needs first so that you are capable of being the best version of you that everyone and everything around you deserves. I'll give you all this printed so you can read it all later. So if we have any time for questions, I'm here as long as you need me.
Wonderful. One thing that came up for me, and can you, yeah, they're perfect. So we can see everybody that's on. One thing that came up for me, we've been having some spa owners that say, wow, I finally like systemized and now I have this time for myself. And all these women felt so guilty that I don't know, or felt guilty about, well, I'm having this, I'm assigning this person this role. I'm having my spa manager do that and I don't do that. And so I feel guilty that I need to, so for me, what's coming up is like, is that mastering the mind? Is that mastering? So that's of mind, mastering mind would be kind of the first
get curious. Yeah. I encourage you all to date yourself, right? Get to know yourself and ask, where is that? What's the stem of that guilt? Where am I feeling guilty and why? Like really ask yourself the question and write it down. Like come up with a real reason. And I bet you won't be able to come up with a reason that's valid. Like really just say, well, why? What is wrong with having free time? Oh, well, it means X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, what's wrong with that? You keep going.
Yeah, I think there's, though, with women in particular, there's this deep, we are supposed to be the wives, the moms. We're like,
who said that?
With society, like the way that we're raised, the way that
you don't have to listen.
Right. I'm not saying that we don't have to listen. I'm saying it's a very deep compounded problem.
It is. And it has to change.
That we need to be able to address. And a lot of times I think we as women, we understand that we feel this way, but we don't know what's the next thing that I need to do. Okay, I'm acknowledging that this is an issue. I'm acknowledging that, everybody, I knew that your answer was like, do you put your kids first? I'm like, I totally do, even though I know I should be putting myself first, right? Like I knew where that was going, but to be in integrity with myself, I had to say, yes, I do put my kids first. Right?
So it takes strong women like all of you here to stand up to change the narrative, right? Otherwise, it's not going to change because there are women that aren't even strong enough to enter into this conversation. So you have to stand up for the narrative that you're not supposed to be anything. like that, right? Like feminine power is a very powerful thing. You look in nature, look at lionesses that go out on the hunt. They eat first because they're on the hunt. They eat first so that they can drag that body back for the big fat male lion that's sitting there doing nothing. And the kids, if they didn't, they wouldn't be capable of hunting. The difference is human beings, we have emotion, which is wonderful, but it's a challenge for us, right? Nature doesn't suffer with that. It just does what it needs to do.
So if and the other thing, I don't know if I told you this. I know I told Emily, but like I come from a Greek and Italian culture. It's a very patriarchal, like I don't think my papu ever cooked a meal in his life. He sat at the table, he sat down, he waited for his food to be set on the plate. A lot of these women have been grown up with that as the example, and I think that that's where kind of this comes to that. Yes, you need to be this CEO and make this money and also be this fully present mom and also be the wife that cleans the house and that be just a stay-at-home mom is a freaking full-time job. Like that is a huge job. And so I think and this might be my logical step by step, but it's what needs to happen. What do we need to do to start to make these changes, to start to stand up?
Let's make it really simple. You work with the time you do have rather than worrying about the time you don't. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when it comes to partners, let's say you have been making dinner and he sat down and eaten it and that's been the norm. And suddenly you don't want that to be the norm. That in itself is habitual behavior within a relationship. So you can't get angry at him for that because it's normal to him. So it's having an adult relationship and an adult conversation. I'm feeling this way, and I'd love to discuss how we can figure something else out so that I can have some more time and you can still eat what you want and we can figure this out together as adults. The moment that we feel that if we're judging it as a problem and it's the way it should be, that's when we get snappy and make it an argument. Like we would never argue if there wasn't a small part of us that believed that it's true. So we've got to just have a conscious, and I have this challenge all the time, working with amazing female entrepreneurs and then husbands aren't supporting them. Like it's one of my biggest bugbears. And I learned the hard way when I invited a load of husbands on a call to talk to them and they didn't want to be on there. Won't do that again. So my priority is my clients, right? So I can't do anything for the other person I'm not talking to. My priority is you. And you have the power and control to make a goal within your life, like within a business, and get there gradually. Okay. And you have conversations with other people involved. So if it's your team and it's a business change, I talk to my team. If it's my relationship with my partner, I talk to my partner. But it doesn't have to be anyway. If it's not making you happy and it's not helping your purpose, right? You can change that. And it's going to be hard, as everything that's worth doing is. That's why challenge was one of those traits of a high performer. Challenge yourself to have the difficult conversation, which is clarity of conversation, energy, emotional energy, courage to have the conversation. Productivity means, I'm going to plan out the conversation and actually think about, what do I want my life to look like structurally? And then influence. I need to influence this guy to think that this is a good idea that benefits all of us. I do a whole training on influence. And I had this session with a client, one of our longest running clients. And through this one session on influence, this whole worksheet we went through, we wrote an email together and she sold a $50,000 package to a client that wasn't sure. It's just a conversation that requires connection and understanding the other side. So why am I telling you that story? Well, there's value in the conversation with a husband, right? And the bigger and the harder it is, the bigger the payoff, right? It's a $50,000 conversation because it means it's going to affect his life massively too. Which means that how many people here, when they enter into a conversation where they want to ask for a favor or it's a situation of influence, how many people prep for it, plan it, lay it out? Mm-hmm. Because they're the conversations that go better. Most people don't. They go in there ready to be attacked. So they go in there, just ask for what they want. That's not influence. When you're a high performer, you're not going in there with a level of insecurity. You're going with clarity. I've just found out something great. I want my life to be a little bit different. And I'd love some support from you to help out, figure out how we can get there together.
So I'm seeing a lot of really positive comments, people saying, I've got to watch this as a reminder every month, and this is what I needed. Do you ladies have any specific questions for James? You can just unmute. You don't have to type. It's easier that way.
I have a question. Hello, thank you for today. I struggle with many of these that we mentioned. But for sure, one thing in particular is mastering my focus. Daniela, earlier when you were speaking to Tara about kind of prioritizing what's most important, I struggle with figuring out what's most important because to me, everything needs to be done. So I'm all over the place. I'll begin one moment focusing on, I don't know, hiring. And then the next minute I'm like, oh man, but I need to also post on social media. So then that'll become my focus and I'll stop with the hiring phase. And it just becomes back and forth, not to mention, of course, my personal life with my family and children. And so I need to find balance. Yeah, I struggle deeply with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. And do you know what? The day you die, your inbox will still be full, right? Yeah. So rather than the goal being get all the stuff done, which you're never going to get all the stuff done, right? I totally understand how you feel because I've been in this place, really have, right? Because I said I was the guy with the mind all over the place. So if your goal every day is just even if it was, I'm going to progress by 1%, do you think you could do that? Do you think you can progress 1% every day?
Yes.
Right. What's 1% after a month? It's 30%, right? Mm-hmm. It's quite a lot. So just take a step back and make it easier on yourself. And what I like to do is like get all of the tasks or the priorities out of my head onto paper or screen so I can see them. And understand why each, and you know, the first bit of this is going to take a while, but understand why each job is important and what role it plays. Then it helps you to prioritize, right? So social media, for example, well, you don't necessarily have to do that at this particular time, but if you schedule it at a set time and stick to it, then you don't have to worry about it until that time. But if you're just doing things on the fly without scheduling them, then of course it's going to be hard because, you know, your brain has all of these lists. You haven't given it a space. So my advice is schedule everything. Even like when I first, because I haven't been an entrepreneur my whole life. For 35 years, I had a full-time job. Okay. So becoming an entrepreneur, that was my first challenge, was now I have all these things I have to do. So I had my calendar had it was like a rainbow, had different colors for everything, even stand up, go and make a drink and sit back down again. So I would remember. So I scheduled everything. So if it's not scheduled, it's not real, is the trick. So social media, commit to a time you're going to do something, how much time you're going to do it for, and stick to it and don't break it until you decide, oh, wait a minute, I need to spend more time, then readjust. Okay. With everything, schedule it. Try that schedule for a while. If it's not working, do something else. But the only reason you struggle to focus is you think that there's a perfect way, and there isn't. There's your way. And these are all metrics. You schedule a way of doing things. You stick to it for a while. You see if it's working. If it isn't, you figure out why it's not working, and then you change the schedule. But get stuff out of your head and put it down. You know, focus is a muscle.
I'm laughing because I have everything scheduled, and Linda posted a little comment there, but it's the other piece of scheduling too, is that when you know you only have 2 hours to do this, you don't have time to think about, it's like, no, I got to get this done. I need X amount of posts, or I need this done or this done. I have 2 hours to do it. I don't have time to scroll on Instagram or see if somebody emailed me or check whatever. It's like, this must get done at this time. Basta. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
So having then the trick is, how am I holding myself accountable?
Yes. Well, do you remember us also talking about the benefit of what you're doing as well? It's less about what you're doing and more about why you're doing it. When you understand the purpose of any task or any action and how it will benefit you, it will help you prioritize it. Like, well, why am I going to go on social media today? If you can't answer that question, it can't be important. Why do I need to pick the kids up from school? Well, because otherwise they're going to be still stood there tonight when I go to bed. Right? So if you understand the why behind any of these tasks, it will help you prioritize, because they'll all have a level of priority based on the time and the date and whatever. Does that make sense? And just be easy on yourself, right?
I like what James said too, Nene, about like, if every day you get 1% better, and just giving yourself permission to, I was talking about this book, I don't remember when, but the compound effect. Like, if you just do a little bit every single day, it's like, everybody talks about, compounding interest. That's how you make so much money. It's this little actions that we take consistently over time. It's not like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to change everything and I'm going to be super crystal clear. It's these consistent, like, you don't get in shape by going to the gym and doing 8 hours of lifting weights. But if you did even just 15 minutes a day, every day, by the end of the year, you'd look better, right? Yeah. Or you'd be better, be in a different place. So really, like, that for me was such a powerful line.
Yeah, less regularly is more, for sure.
Does anyone else have anything? We just have just about 4 more minutes before like a true hard stop. Everybody good? Okay. Well, James, incredible. Linda's event is in 2 hours and you're here. Well, that is the perfect call right before your event, right? Very good. Thank you so much. This is incredibly valuable and so generous of your time. You guys, we will be sending out the recording. James will give us the printouts of whatever we need. We'll include James's contact information. So you guys will have that. So just really like do this for yourself. And it is so much of what we do in Growth Factor is literally the step-by-step strategy, giving you the resources. But if your mind is not in the right place, like you can have all the resources in the world and you're not going to move forward. If you can't get that confidence in yourself and that give yourself the love and permission of what you need to thrive, you're just going to be in the same place. So it is such an important piece of the puzzle. So thank you, James. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great to meet you all.